nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me
Good evening and welcome. I did it again. I've got written down here, hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby blog. And I just automatically went, good evening. And, you know, you could be listening to this on the on your dog walk. You could be listening to this on the car on the way to work tomorrow. You could be listening to this prior to the your weekend getting started. You could be doing anything. And I've just totally and utterly mucked it up again, and I can't even say it's Alan's fault because he's not here.
So, welcome is just a general.
I've got welcome written down here. I've got it there, and I just totally and utterly brave.
Well, you know, you just get into a script when you're working customer service. You know, you kind of feel like you're in a script at the time, don't you? You know,
aye, it's one of those situations. So anyway, hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby blog. I'm Craig Manson. I'm hosting tonight, and joining me tonight is Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Very well, thank you, and good day to you all.
Good day,
whatever time that may be.
Nice save, and obviously the voice you heard earlier on is Iain. Hey, hello, Iain. How you doing?
The interrupting twat, that's me. Hello, Craig. Bonus, whatever time. Hello. Generic hello.
Generic hello. Well, I have to say, for some reason, I'm getting to that age where my body's decided that sleeping is for wimps, and I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning.
That's why I
couldn't get back to sleep. You know how you have to? Well, when you get to a certain age, you have to get up for a pee, and then you try and fight it, and you fight it, and then you decide, no, I'm going to have to go and do it, and then usually you can go back to sleep.
Craig, I have been there was personal messenger chat where I was ticked off for talking about bowel movements. So you're encroached on my territory, which gets.
Well, I'm just I'm just talking more about the fact that today has been one of those days where I've been tired all day and I'm a bit grumpy tonight. So for all of you out there that may find me grumpy tonight, well, we're going to be grumpy later on anyway. So, but Iain, what have you been up to today? How's your day been?
You know, I actually kind of. Ronan was on night shift last night, so I got up early by my standards, and I did a lot of food prep. I've not tested my pickled carrots and radishes yet. The pork steaks, I'm going to do them after. The grape juice is nice, but it's gotten quite thick, and I feel like I need to sieve it. Other than that, I'm okay. No, I'm not. It's been horrible because it's just the same depressing week after a horrifying, needless loss.
Yes, and we will get to that fairly soon. And Mark, you were enthralled on the podcast messenger chat that we have with all of the air fryer discussions that we seem to have tonight. I went seriously. I left work looking at Iain. He's been putting some posts on about his pickled radishes and things like that. I drove for half an hour home, listening to Tom English ranting. No, actually, I was listening to Lee and Joshua in Blood and Mud, and gets home, looks at my phone, and there's about 54 messages about everyone talking about air fryers. It's like, this is ridiculous. So
We'll grab the pickled stuff now. We'll give it a test. We'll give it a live test. Right,
nice.
So
Mark,
really,
sorry? Go and get your pickles and get on with it. Come on, stop talking.
That guy who tried his limoncello on like live stream, and it was absolutely foul. So we'll see if I have the same reaction.
Nice. Okay. So Mark, what have you been up to today? How's your day been going apart from the?
I've actually had a very good last 24 hours. All things considered, I had a pal of mine from over west was at an early meeting in Edinburgh today, so she came to stay with me so she could get the train into town easier. So we had a very nice evening last night, bite to eat and a couple of glasses of wine. And then I got an offer on my mum's house, which I'm trying to sell.
Excellent.
Which was exceedingly good news considering it's only been in the market a couple of weeks. So yeah, so all in all, I'm in the opposite of you. I'm in a particularly good mood this evening.
Yeah,
and considering the rugby, right?
Yeah, well, and I also have an apology to make because last week I truly put my foot in it last week, calling both because I am a complete Luddite. I lumped Mark in with that, and actually, stupidly, I forgot that Mark is actually involved in the tech industry and in IT, and that's his kind of job. So
it kind of is, yeah. I think to be fair though, that many of my colleagues would completely agree with you, so it's a fair one.
I am quite known for putting my absolute 2 feet into this as a absolute make howler.
It's been a long time since I've actually been at the sharp techie end. So.
So, for those that aren't watching the live stream, Iain is holding up a jar that looks like a sample jar. What have you got there, Iain? Is
that's my pickled carrots and radishes, and
nice.
Pretty good, man.
And what did you pickle them in? Anything in particular?
It was cider vinegar and rice wine vinegar with some sugar and salt, and I didn't quite have enough. And then I was like, I'm running out of cider vinegar and it tastes a bit appley, so I put more rice vinegar and white wine vinegar and more salt, and it's actually quite good. Man, they go nicely in sandwiches or like an Asian stir fry.
So
that's the first time I've ever tried pickling anything. It's not bad.
There we go. Yeah, you learn something.
Follow me for more recipes.
And
this is part of the Patreon, by the way.
Exactly. I was going to say that this isn't part of the Patreon. We're going to discuss that in a second. And it's amazing what things and hints and tips you get from the Scottish Rugby podcast. So we'll move on. Hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. Our podcast is part of the Sports Social Network. And then don't forget to give us a follow or a like on your favourite podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to give us a follow on social media. You can find all the links on our site, www.scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. If you're listening on Apple and like what we do, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to get more pickling and ingredient chat and maybe even some air fryer chat, you can. And also, if you want to support us in what we do, you can subscribe to our Patreon from just £3 plus the VAT a month. And that gives you access to our super secret Facebook group, the second part of tonight's podcast, where we get a little bit looser and we will, I can guarantee, be swearing on the second part of the pod. And also, we might come up with some more air fryer tips and handy hints, and maybe Iain will come up with some other things for Iain to pickle. You never know. So we'll see what happens.
Like Errol Flynn's. Never mind.
Cool. Well, that's what I thought was in your jar, but that's a different story altogether. I thought you'd been out there
once it's
down the abattoir. Anyway, moving swiftly on to the news. Just women's rugby news. Edinburgh 22 Wolfhounds 31 and Glasgow 19, Gwalia Lightning 31. Mark, we're seeing a little bit of a downturn with Scottish women's rugby with the pro clubs. Edinburgh, especially, were very much living the high life last season, and they seem to have just taken a bit of a dip. Glasgow are getting better and scoring more tries, which seems a positive. But what's your spin on that?
Yeah, it's an odd one because I didn't see the most recent games, but I watched the earlier ones with Edinburgh, and they seem to start quite well.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to be critical of players. I think one of the problems or one of the challenges that our two teams have is that there are very few actual pro players or internationals who are playing for Glasgow or Edinburgh. And I think the Irish sides particularly, but also to an extent the Welsh sides are more peppered with those more experienced and more those players that have a better ability to train.
Yeah.
I think that might be a bit of a challenge for them. To be honest, I would need to really watch the games back, and I haven't done so, I confess. But yeah, the results are a little disappointing, particularly against the Welsh sides. I thought we'd compete better with them.
Yeah. And Ian, we are seeing a real sort of, what's the word? A renaissance. Renaissance, is that the word? A reinventation, a reinvigorating of the Welsh, sort of the around the Welsh sides. Not so much. Okay, maybe we can maybe talk further down the line about the men's international squad, but the under-20s and the sort of the in brackets pro teams for Welsh women and also Welsh women themselves. They seem to be getting themselves back in order and starting to threaten a little bit more.
I think it seems like a dark cloud has sort of been lifted over, well, dark clouds, plural, over the last few months have been lifted over Welsh rugby. Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a Warriors fan, disappointed to be defeated, but, you've got to give them the little victories they can get at the moment, I suppose. And
who were the victories again there, Ian? Who did they beat?
Gwalia Lightning, was it?
No, Gwalia did beat them, but it was more of who did they beat? Yeah, okay, they beat Edinburgh.
Oh, right, yeah, but well, I've tried.
I thought that's what your dig was.
No, it's an anti-dig. You're just, oh my god, you're just trying to play the victim, aren't you, Craig?
Oh yeah.
To be fair, you've got all the ammunition.
I've got plenty of ammunition. Anyway, Glasgow have confirmed Jari Ogundebeju.
Ogundebeju, I believe it was.
Yeah, I almost got that right off there. Yeah. They've confirmed that he signed his first professional contract with the club. It was inevitable this guy was going to be signing a professional contract with Glasgow. What a player! Ian.
Yeah, I mean, when the game against Dragons last week, when Glasgow were shockingly found themselves down, he just really came up to the pump. He's a line-out menace. He's a big lad, both like lengthy and width-wise. He's a powerful runner. His work rate looked insane. I was very excited. I even, because of how well he played, I was like, you know what, we could even throw him in against England just to tidy things up. Because if you want some go forward and some like proper physicality in amongst the tight five, because Gilchrist and Gray are a bit set piecey, a bit static. There's nothing wrong with, you need a nuts and bolts guy, but then you've got someone with that kind of dynamism. I think I've not been this excited since I've seen someone like Scott Cummins coming through. He looks like a real prospect.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, Mark, considering that there's a lot being levelled in Scotland about their forward pack, etc. over the last couple of weeks. He is, if we're looking for someone with a bit of heft, a bit of physicality, he's the right guy.
Yeah, I think he's very much in the mould of the modern locks. So he has the heft and the physicality, but he also seems to have good hands. He's very athletic around the pitch, shifts himself. He's not a big lumbering unit as some of the maybe older locks are. He's very dynamic. I I was slightly surprised at him being given his contract because I was gobsmacked he didn't already have one.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw that, I went, "Really? It's taken this long?" You know, because he's got future potential written all over him.
Yeah, but you know, and it is something that what I would say is he's in the right team to be developed, because if you look at what Franco did with Italy, he brought in these young players and put them into fairly big roles, and developed them really. You know, I think was Franco involved with Benetton as well. I think
it was before he went to Italy.
Yeah, and he did the same. Garbisi is one of the biggest. One of the people I point to regularly with Franco, who brought these people through, you know, relatively young and inexperienced, but he really brought them on. So yeah, he's a great signing for Glasgow, and I'm a little bit jealous. But then again, you don't want him to come to Edinburgh and be ruined, I suppose.
Not necessarily, you know.
Iain, Glasgow are going to be celebrating their club of origin this weekend when they play Ospreys, celebrating clubs and schools, forming the stars of tomorrow into the Glasgow players that they are today. What was more interesting to me, because obviously Edinburgh have done this as well. What was interesting to me though is that they're doing a double header. So Glasgow are playing Ospreys, and also Glasgow women are playing Brighton Thunder, and I think that what a great day out, and it's going to be okay. Fair enough. A lot of the women's teams like to be on their separate times, but I think that's really going to do wonders for Glasgow women.
Yeah, no, I think that's something we've discussed before, like the potential for like 1872 games do a double header. It just means that there's more bodies through the door. Means that the concession stand people who have had to pay a fortune for their pitch get more potential for football traffic, and more eyes on the game. So I think it's a good idea. I also think it shows that because it's another Sunday game, and with the pricing of season tickets at Scotstoun, which is seen, even though there was a sellout, and then you see all these massive pockets, they're struggling to get people through the door, which is a major concern when you think it's that, you know, this is the league champions, and we're still struggling to fill out a 7,500 seater stadium. Sorry to be a downer, but let's just continue the theme while I'm here.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things. It's not really a downer. It's more quite an interesting conversation, because Mark, we're looking at falling numbers, especially in Edinburgh at the moment. I can guarantee there's falling numbers because there's a lot of people who aren't renewing their season tickets and aren't, and you can understand that with Edinburgh, but with Glasgow, because of the performances currently of the Edinburgh serving up, but Glasgow, you're looking at exciting rugby. You're looking at is it what's the problem here, Mark?
I think part of the challenge is that the captive audience. I'd be very interested to know of these people that do go to Scotstoun, for example, how many of them are new to rugby. I mean, for example, I know a few people that are new to rugby. I mean, the likes of Leslie, who's on our patrons and things like that. She came to the game comparatively recently, but I actually think that's probably quite unusual. So my question is, what are they doing to get out into Glasgow, the city as a whole, and promote Scotstoun to non-rugby fans? Because that's what you need, right? If you're already a big rugby fan, you're already going, if it's able to do so. But, are people... I mean, I as a TV viewer, I love the Friday Night Lights thing. As somebody that commuted into Edinburgh, when I was living in Peebles, I never went to a game because it was just, kicking around from work for 2.5 hours and then having to get home late at night.
Yeah.
It was just not feasible. So is that working for us? But then if we move to Saturdays, we're competing with the football. So...
And Iain, that's it. But I know what Mark's saying, but we are at a situation where 2-3 years ago, Scotland was jumping. So is it very much a season ticket and ticket price? I always found that Scotland. The only thing I would level at Scotland is I find it incredibly difficult to get to, as in as a Calais, as a rugby player in the Calais area, and Glasgow. I have to whisper this, but Glasgow are actually meant to be my team because I'm in, all the How players, etc., that go through that system go to Glasgow. I find it incredibly. First of all, you're an hour and a half to get through there, and then trying to get parked and different things like that. Now, okay, if I live in Glasgow, I'm sure you can get the bus, etc. But for travelling fans, it's quite difficult.
Yeah, well, I mean, even as a travelling fan in the city, if I was to get it from where I am, I can get one bus, the number 6 bus, which is the only bus which goes like pretty much anywhere within half a mile of the stadium. Otherwise, I'm not going to go through all the buses, right? I could go right through this, man.
We've already had you discuss traffic works and buses and everything.
I think like from here it takes about an hour. The Friday night lights kind of suited me because I would work on a Friday until 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then I would just have to kill time for an hour or so and then get the bus over. But then when we ended up getting a lot more Saturday games, and I was going to cover like Glasgow Hawks games or whatever for the offside line, it then just became the ticket price. The ticket price doubled within like 6 years, and it just became unfeasible for me to keep that ticket with not being able to make as many games. And now that ticket's been sold, and I very rarely see anyone sitting in that seat. This is the transport is awful. When the game, this 1872 game, got moved to Hampden, and people started moaning about Hampden transport links. I live near Hampden. It's so easy to get to compared to Scotland. It's a rubbish stadium, to be honest, and it's not in a good location, or not an accessible location for anyone.
I think it's
facilities are poor.
I think it's doing it's let's just say it's punching above its weight, especially in a couple of years ago when Glasgow may not have been performing as well as they are now, but the place was jumping, and I think it definitely does punch above its weight because of its where it is, its transport links, and also just the fact that for me it's the coldest place I've ever been in my entire life, closely followed by the Hive, because the wind blows through the same way.
There's nowhere nearby where you can relax for a drink or whatever, and the clubhouse is rubbish. The queuing systems at the concession stands are rotten access. It's not fit for purpose, is the politest way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, I've never been to Scotland to see a match, but one of my pals used to live in Scotland Road, so I know the area quite well from visiting him, and it just struck me from my memory of it, it was a sports ground in the middle of a domicile area.
Yeah,
there wasn't it's not like you wander out and you all go to the pub afterwards, or there are a handful of pubs you can go to. It didn't have that kind of vibe going on. Yeah.
Well, last bit of news, and it's just closely following on from Holly Davidson getting her referee cap. Mike Adamson stumbles through and TMO checks his way in to get his cap into the SRU. Good on Mike, actually. He gets a lot of people slating him and a lot of people throwing a hell of a lot at him, especially a lot of, let's just say, our URC friends seem to not be too happy with Mike Adamson's refereeing. But great to see this happening, and great to see Scotland producing high-level referees. Iain.
Yeah, it's just, I find it strange that it took so long. Was it 19 years or 16 years, I think, between Scottish referees doing a Six Nations game, from what Matt Valance wrote anyway. Good old Uncle Matt. Let's not get into the quality of refereeing, but there's definitely worse kicking about. I'd say.
We'll cover that. Don't you worry about that.
Yes.
Right. Well, I've tried to delay it as much as I could, but we've got 13 minutes left of the open air pod. We better touch on this and then and try and keep our P's and Q's to ourselves. But Scotland 15, England 16. Tries for Ben White, Hugh Jones, and Duhan van der Merwe. There were no tries for England, I believe.
I'm going to say you didn't say Tommy Freeman.
No tries for England. England just leached points in a slow and grinding way, like a leech sucking blood from the Scottish veins. Duhan van der Merwe was man of the match, which says a hell of a lot because usually it's the winning team that gets a player of the match, and it just seems that as usual, or as a Scot, how can I put it? A Scots team or a Scots athlete, they continually snatch a loss from a fantastic victory. Mark, I've got no questions in here. I've just got disgust because it just seems to be. I think
disgust or disgust.
Well, there's a mixture of both. I think Mark and I. I'm not. Mark, you might disagree. I'm trying to think back to last week, but I was sure we were going to lose this anyway.
Yeah, I had England winning by 6 points.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the start that we had, I was like, "Oh, hello." It was almost like somebody walking past with a large piece of cake on their plate, and I didn't realize it was that sort of place. And it really, like, oh, that looks enjoyable.
One of the other pods asked the question. I can't remember because I was listening to a few of them in the car the last couple of days. And one of the other pods asked the question, is it worse to lose by a chunk or lose by a single point? And they were all saying, no, it's worse to get a kicking. I'm not entirely convinced. Because if you get a kicking, you were outplayed, as we were against Ireland, right? Genuinely, on Saturday, I think we were the better team. And I think the number of tries showed that. But we have to look at our penalty count. And because while I would quite happily and probably in Patreon will argue that some of them were against us were nonsense, a lot of them were not. So we have to look at that. And we have to ask the question why we are not scoring from however many. I saw a stat mid-game saying, or towards the middle of the second half, saying that we had 16 22 entries. I've since seen a stat saying that we had 13 red zone entries. So one of these numbers isn't correct. So even if it's only 13, we had 13 red zone entries. And we could only get points from, realistically, 2 of them, because the other one came from 30 meters out, 40 meters out.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong in the way we were playing.
Oh, I'm fully in agreement, and Iain, I'll bring you in on this one because from what I could see, and there's people saying that the Scottish pack are poor, the Scottish pack are not physical enough, etc. I think where I find it difficult is the Scottish pack will decide that they're going to rumble the ball up and hit, and they're getting to 22, and it's 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit, and then we can guarantee Ian that on the 3rd hit the ball gets turned over some way. Either it gets dropped, it gets knocked out of someone's hands, or a penalty because Ben Earl's come in and put his hands on it, or Maro Itoje's flown in from the Sky Scanner camera and up above and put his hands on the ball. Are we justified in saying that the Scottish forward pack are not performing, or are we? Are the critics correct? Are we not physical enough? Or did we just come up against a really good defence?
I mean, to be boring at a bunch of all three, but I don't think it's a physicality thing. I think it's
you got splinters on your backside for sitting on that fence, Ian Hayes.
I actually used that exact euphemism in my player ratings the weekend. No, do you realise I think it's a lack of cohesion and a lack of variety amongst the forward packs, right? Like you said, it's all just one shuffle and then on once you get into the red zone. I don't see any kind of organisation of pods or people going, right, let's set up a 2 here. I don't see Ben White particularly being commanding and saying, instantly going, this is what we're doing, and making that choice, therefore setting the defence on their back foot, or maybe having a snipe himself or shifting it wide. I just think we're once we get into that area, we're dead slow to make a decision. And like you said again, and then once we're slow, we're predictable. And it's just to sort of keep bashing on the door. It's like, all right, cool, man, it's not worked 3 times. Why are you still doing it? And then we mix it up a bit.
Yeah, and Mark, I think, funnily enough, for some reason today, up came some videos of Scotland's tries over the past few Calcutta Cups for some reason on my timeline. And a lot of the tries that were scored were crossfield kicks from Finn. And we didn't have any of that this weekend. And we got to a point, obviously, where we were battering down the door at certain points, and we had no quick ball, 1-2 rucks, and then the ball out the back to Finn, and then some magic happened, because that was happening on the pitch this weekend. There was magic happening on the pitch this weekend. So, where are we confused? Are people starting to just do it themselves? What's going on?
I think potentially we've been very lucky that we've had a point of difference in the close quarters. So we know. I mean, we were joking about today with the 10, or the other day with the 10 rules of being a Scottish fan, or 10 rules of Scottish rugby that we were laughing about. If you go for more than 2 pick and goes, you're going to fail. But we've had points of difference. So Sione is a point of difference because he gives that running line off Finn. And whether that's making a hole for Hugh Jones or being a second receiver or putting boot to ball or whatever, he gives that extra second of decision making. I don't think we had that. Even with Tom Jordan there, he's not in the same league. The other thing, if you think about it, how many times have we seen Darcy Graham score from running an unexpected line of 9 or 10, 5 or 6 yards out? Darcy, considering his size and weight, Darcy as a back probably scores more crash ball tries than any other back in the tournament. But with the 2 of them out of the game, who's being coached to bring that additional point of difference? Because you pass out the Finn. Yes, the magic was happening. Yes, the great passes were going, but everybody's expecting it.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I find it weird and I find it frustrating because it was quite obvious that England were weak on the edges, and we were for the first 20 minutes. We were in control of those edges. We had those edges; they were ours. And every time we seemed to put a ball out there, magic was happening. Something was going to happen. There was going to be a try, etc. And then all of a sudden, we decided, right, now it's time to either kick the ball, or we're going to start just now. The forwards really want to be involved, and we're going to start giving the ball to the forwards, which we're coming up against a really quite strong England defence. I think England's defence between the two, in the middle, probably 2/3 of the pitch. And when I say middle, I mean if you're attacking up a pitch, the middle part rather than the edges. Their defence there was very good, and we seem to find that, even Tom Jordan, who's supposedly, and I say this, and I'm not doing this as a Mickey take, I'm just saying supposedly is known for his physicality, was getting put on his backside regularly. So why have we decided then, oh, right, okay, 20 minutes in, let's stop doing what we're doing that seems to be working against England, and let's start putting it in the middle and trying to hit up when we're actually finding the actual wings. It's a weird one, Ian. I was confused by it.
I think it seems to, excuse me, it's a conservatism and sort of like there's like a tactical conservatism, thinking, oh, we could just take the pace out of the game. It's like, no, stamp on their throat. You've got them, kill them, because we can't control games, right? Just keep going at them. If you feel like if you're going backwards, just give it to Finn or Tom Jordan, and then territory. Just like we seem to be scared of trying to murder teams once we get on top of them and let them back into it. Just like, take the pace out of the game. No, we're not good at that, right? Or when we try and do that, the referee, or we allow the referee to allow ourselves to get on the wrong side of the referee. I won't blame the referee. It's the referee's fault half the time.
I'll blame the referee. We just wait to the page.
Oh yeah. It seems like a fear to actually just go and like stamp your dominance. It's like, cool, we've gone 2-3 tries up within 15 minutes. Let's just stop. Let's just kill it. Kill them. Go full All Blacks.
And Ian, that's the thing, and this is what I'm amazed at, is that if we kept doing what we were doing, we could have put, in my own mind, I might be over exaggerating here, but we could have put 35, 40 points on England. Mm-hmm. I just feel that we had them on the edge all the time. Marcus Smith didn't even get in the game until late. I think he put a nice little patch on and got to Ollie Lawrence, and then Ollie Lawrence and also Ewan Ashman and Laurie Lawrence decided to go for who could make the stupidest offload. But there was some nice play from England at a small amount. But anyway, we're going to continue this chat on our on the Patreon side of things. Pretty disappointing finish to the Calcutta Cup and to the run of wins, I guess. But I will end the pod with an apology from me, because holy Stafford McDowell, I've been one of those. I've been a detractor of Stafford McDowell, and my goodness, did he make a hole to run through for the Duhan try. But anyway, I apologise, Stafford. You did surprise me that day. But anyway, we'll move on to the Patreon. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for tuning in, and a big thank you goes to Mark and to Ian for joining me. And really, it's always a pleasure to be involved in the podcast with you guys, and also the other guys that aren't here just now, especially our very ill Johnny McGinty, who couldn't get, I don't know, he couldn't get. Is he in his bed? He's had a
on his deathbed,
and he's in his deathbed with man flu. So our thoughts go out to you, Johnny, and I hope you're feeling better.
We will contribute at least some of your Patreon amount to a delivery of beans from.
Yeah, we'll get a macaroni pie sent, or at least
a proper. They do tomato soup.
Yeah, they might do, or a black pudding roll, but no grated cheese on it, because that's ridiculous. But we'll see what we can do. But for now, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll move on to the Patreon. Have a good rest of the day, evening, morning, whatever you're going to be doing. And thanks to Mark and Ian. Good night, man.
Cheers, folks.
Bye, everyone. That's where we pause. We shuffle our papers and we pause.
I'll shuffle papers. I have got another page.
Hey, that's a zinger, Mark. Hey, it's a zinger, man. Seen. Oh, did you see that Elon Musk has said he'd go on the Today Show with Jon Stewart?
Has he?
I've
Like,
seen it recently. Now.
no, yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, I'll go on as long as they don't edit it. It's like, man, Jon Stewart would rip you apart.
Oh,
like
Jon
a-
Stewart is going to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be like a fucking lion getting torn into you.
Have you did you see
He's a sharp guy, isn't he?
Did you see the one that Jon Stewart did? He was interviewing one of the congressmen or one of the senators.
Yeah,
and
about the drag
gun
queens.
yeah, about
Yes.
drag queens and gun
Yeah.
control.
Oh, so it's not safe for children, right? Do you want to guess what kills most children in this country? Or are you going to say it's guns? Yeah. Do you know why I'm going to say it's guns? Because it's fucking guns, mate. Right?
Yeah. And why the fuck are you not banning these in schools?
Yeah.
But you know, anyway, we're not going to get into politics. Hello, welcome to the Patreon part of
I don't know if I've
the.
even turned off the bits I'm supposed to. Am I supposed to turn shit off here? I've probably just sworn.
You're supposed to turn things off, Ian. But
All right. Wait. What's this? Scottish Rugby. All right, keep that. Fuck it.
because if we're live and we're
I
swearing,
think this.
we need to
If it's
settle
the
down.
YouTube one, I should probably turn it off, shouldn't I?
Yes, I think it's the. I think
It
it's
says public. That one says public. They all say
Yeah,
public one. I don't. Right. Well. Remove.